Okay, episode number 3 of Generation Abedi. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. If you're new to the channel, my name is Arvin Abedi. I hope you guys enjoy these episodes that I'm about to put out. As I mentioned in my 2 past episodes, my plan is to become a lot more consistent with these episodes and my posting schedules. Hoping to be able to put out at least 3 episodes a week. And without further ado, let's get into today's topic. So today I'm going to be talking about making the most of your newbie gym phase. If you guys don't know this about me, I'm quite a gym addict, I would be able to say. And my second home is, quite frankly, the gym. Kind of live and breathe it. And not only does it, like, with the physical benefits that I get, and I say this to everyone, but so much of, like, the psychological benefits that I get, like the mental stuff, it really just it gives me that sense of, like, comfort and peace whenever I'm at the gym, which is why I've been so passionate about learning anything that has to do with, working out, bodybuilding, in the gym, the culture of it. So it's not just like, okay, you know what, man, if you want to grow your delts, do side lateral raises. Because I see that all over TikTok. All kids want to do now is go to the gym just to look good. Once again, just to impress the girls, which is stupid. But the gym is a lot more than just going there just to see it as a bunch of weights, as a bunch of pieces of metal, equipment, doing your thing and getting out of there as soon as possible. It should be a place in which you see a form of history, culture, a place where you can deeply connect yourself to it. And the people that are gym rats like myself, they truly understand what I'm saying. Is that when you go there, you don't see the gym as just a place to work out to quote unquote become healthy. But you go there because you have this sense of connection to the actual environment, to the equipment. Every single equipment that you touch, it's like that sense of connection that you have with it. And going off of that, because I was like that, I started around March break of, I don't know, a year and a half ago. So it was before COVID. But I remember it was somewhat during a March break that I started. And because of that, I had a good week to, just go every day, spend as much time as I wanted. And because of that, I had the opportunity to do as much research, as much digging into, as much connection with the gym and everything about it, which got me really addicted to the gym and this entire process. Now, if you were to look at me right now, like if I had my video on, you wouldn't see me and think that, okay, this guy is, professional bodybuilder. Because frankly, my physique isn't, where it should be compared to the amount of experience and the amount of time and the amount of knowledge that I have in the bodybuilding industry. Because I've had a lot of ups and downs. Not only COVID, which, screwed everyone up and closed the gyms up for a good, year or even more. But with other situations that I also had that I had to cut off from the gym, it was tragic because I saw the potential in myself, but I couldn't fulfill it because of everything that was happening. But even then, instead of saying, you know what, I'm just going to give up on it because it hurts to just see myself compared to other people that started later than me and how they're better, I said, I'm just going to stay consistent on it. And this path, and as I say this to everyone, for anything in the world, not just the gym, but any form of growth or success that you want to achieve, it's not a linear path, it's exponential. For the first years, months, however long, you should expect to see nothing. Program yourself in your head to feel nothing, to not expect to be able to blow up. Because that's the issue, is that you go, and even with the gym, which I'm connecting it to this episode, is that people go to the gym like they're first starting out, and they're expecting to lift a couple weights, a month later, come out and be jacked. It doesn't work like that. And it's a lot more than just going to the gym and lifting weights. And I've learned this the hard way. And this is why I believe if you can get a good mentor, or if you can get the knowledge before you jump in and you kind of just run out of your newbie phase, if you can go into your newbie phase with that knowledge of knowing what you're doing and make the most of it, you're going to ace it, and you're going to be so happy because you just did something that most people, when they start off in the gym, they're not able to do. And that's the thing with, when I started working out, there was no one that really taught me anything because no one really knew anything about the gym around me. I was between my friends, I was one of the first ones that started the gym. And the person that took me to the gym, one of my other friends, he didn't really know what he was doing either. He just kind of went there for the treadmills, and I kind of followed him around. And it got to the point where I saw the weights, and I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of interested to try that too. To which, when I went in there, I had to kind of build myself up from zero, YouTube video to YouTube video, books to books, podcast to podcast, ask this guy, ask that guy. And that's why I believe that if you're able to get it right from the start, like the newbie phase, if you're able to do that right, you're going to put yourself at a such better position than 99% of all of us gym goers had. When I started off at the gym and I was trying to figuring stuff out meant having to go and learn stuff and then implement it in my own gym life. But what that mean is that I had to implement it in my newbie phase. So I couldn't basically make the most of my newbie phase because I was learning everything step by step, little by little, and being able to put it in. It just, kind of just ran out of that time, and I wasn't able to make the most of it. So this episode is going to be about how you can make the most of your newbie gym phase. Something I want to clarify for every single one of you out there is that the gym, working out, like this entire topic, this entire thing about, okay, let's build this body, let's get in better shape, it's not just with the gym. It's not just all about working out. And that's just this thought in so many new people's phase where they think, okay, you know what? I want to start building this better body. Let's say I'm skinny. I want to become a little more muscular. I'm obese. I want to lose the weight, more toned. I'm skinny fat. I want to be able to still stay the same weight or even gain a little weight, but at the same time look kind of shredded. Those phases, people think that it all has to do with just working out. It doesn't. Working out, and for the people that know what I'm saying, they're exactly agreeing to what I'm saying. Working out is like a percent of all of this stuff. Okay, maybe a percent is a little too under exaggerated, but like it's a very small portion of this entire topic of, okay, I want to build, I want to just get in better shape. It's a very small part of it. There's so many different parts where people don't see. And what's sad is that, because I had to experience this myself, is that what's sad is that you go into this gym, you're all excited, you learn about, exercises. Oh, you want to grow your delts, side lateral raises for your laterals. You want to grow your anteriors, front raises. Oh, maybe it's better to do it with ropes because it has constant tension. You learn all that, but then your results aren't as good as someone else that knows a lot less about those kind of exercise, workout, gym stuff. And you're confused to yourself because you're maximizing all those exercises. You're doing the best. Like, you're doing curls. You know that you want to like slow down on the eccentric. You know you want to maybe put up some isometrics. You know you want to just do some pauses. You know you might want to do, leaning it back, stretching it out, or like, etc. You have all that information that has to do with the exercise, but your growth is still less than someone that's just simply grabbing a pair of like 10-pound dumbbells and doing some of the shittiest curls you've ever seen. And you're confused. You're like, okay, but I'm doing all of this. I'm going to the point where my biceps are burning like hell. I'm going to the point where my delts are just dead. I'm going to the point on my leg day where I can't walk. But I'm growing a lot less than someone that's not doing that as much, has zero knowledge of that, is doing the bare minimum when it comes to exercises and all that. And I'm getting less results. And that's where this entire like thought of, okay, genetics. That's what makes everything happen. I'm not saying genetics is fake. Oh, it's a real thing, trust me, but not in the way that people make it seem like. Genetics, especially when you're in a newbie phase, genetics literally, it's the smallest thing. Yes, some people can gain muscle faster because they have this Ronnie Coleman genetics. Yes, some people can have the fullest muscle bellies like Phil Heath or Jeremy Buendia. Some people might be able to have the best bicep insertions like Buendia. Yes, those depend on genetics. But when does that really kick in? When you're trying to get every single like 0.1% out of your physique, because those 0.1% matter. But when you're starting from zero, you don't care about the 0.1% that people would care when they're at 99%. You just care to get from 0 to 50, from 50 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90. So you don't care about those little things because those don't matter, especially because you're building your foundation at the start. And that entire thought of, okay, genetics is just so important. In your newbie phase, drop that thought. It's a real thing, yes. I don't want people to go pissed at this episode, be like, this guy just said genetics isn't real. Genetics is real. But always having to put that in your brain as a limiting factor is just going to put you so back, because that's just bringing up an excuse that's unnecessary. You don't need that excuse. Every single time you try to make an excuse, you're basically patting yourself on the back saying, you know what? You're right for letting go of what you did, because genetics would have screwed you over. It's absolute BS. Genetics has nothing to do with you, has no big effect on you until you get to your higher stages, and then we start to see genetics doing its thing. There's a lot bigger factors when it comes to maximizing your gains that is just not so reliant on just working out and doing the exercises. And we're going to be going over that today as well. So one of the things that people, they really go low on it, they don't see the value in it. Sleep, recovery, it has one of the biggest roles that you could ever imagine. I mean, look at the basics of how, okay, muscle grows. Like, I'm just going to say this in the most basic bro science way. You go to the gym, you grab some dumbbells, let's say you're curling, bicep curls. You're curling and you're getting to, 10 reps and you're struggling, and now you hit failure at 11 reps, you can't do any more. Your muscles get micro tears in them, your fibers. They get very minor micro tears in them where I'm not saying it's like a break or a fracture or something like that, where it's like an injury. Small micro tears because you try to push that muscle doing something that it was not strong enough to do. When you get those micro tears, what happens in the body? The body obviously tries to repair it. That repairing phase is what makes the muscle stronger and makes it grow. Now put this in your mind in a perspective like this. What if you do all the exercises you were supposed to do, you made as many micro tears as possible, and you did a fantastic job on that. But what if the body just doesn't fix those micro tears? You're at zero. Nothing changed. Absolutely nothing. So recovery is huge. You can make as many micro tears. You can lift anything you want in the best fashion you want. You can walk out of that gym like dead. You can walk out of that gym exhausted, completely done because you finished your muscles to the maximum. You got as many micro tears as possible. But if you don't repair those micro tears, then what happens? You don't grow. You need those micro tears to repair for you to grow. That's why recovery is so huge. And a big part of that recovery is sleep. So your overall growth and performance has a big light shining on sleep. And with the 90-minute cycles that are going on in sleep, that I'm going to make another episode on sleep on its own. But our sleep is just, in quick saying, it has 90-minute cycles. And in those cycles, we have deep REM sleep. And that's where we basically have all those muscle tears, those micro tears repairing. That's where everything in our body is repairing. And that's where you also see your dreams, is in REM sleep. But sleep is just so crucial. And I see people that, especially with teenagers, man, I don't know why this is common. They don't see sleep as something that, I should put some more attention to. They do nothing about it. And that's sad. That's very sad. Is that they don't understand the fact that, you can do as many exercises as you want. You can be as good as you want. But if you don't get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep, then you're done. You're done for. Like kids nowadays, they sleep at 2 a.m. earliest. Wake up at 8 to go to school. That's latest, 8. They wake up at 7 to go to school. Their circadian rhythm is all over the place. That's one thing. 2 is that they're not even maximizing the sleep quality because of everything that they're doing. Up to 2 a.m. they're on a blue light cell phone, on a computer. Up to 2 a.m. they're doing work. Maybe they're even working out at night, which is terrible. Maybe they even had a good nap in the middle of the day. Like they screwed up their sleep quality. And they don't understand how that is having such a big impact on this entire goal that they're trying to achieve. Personally, what I've found in myself is that 7.5 hours is really like the sweet spot for me. And I find that sweet spot to be very good whenever I've shifted it a little earlier and when I'm consistent with it. Because your circadian rhythm is really important. And people don't see the value, the importance in being consistent with your sleep schedule. People don't see the importance in that until it really just makes them crash. So I'm telling you this right now, to make the most of your newbie gym phase, you have to prioritize sleep. Sleep for 7 to 9 hours. And I mean sleep for 7 to 9 hours. Not waking up to go to the bathroom every 30 minutes because you're just screwing up your entire cycles there. You're not even hitting REM deep sleep. And I'm going to be doing another episode on sleep on its own. But have this in mind, sleep is very important. Recovery is very important. Next thing that's very important is your diet. Believe it or not, diet is so huge when it comes to bodybuilding and just making the most of your newbie gym phase. And I really wish that I knew how important your diet was back in the day, because I didn't. And that was one of my biggest mistakes. And to this day, I'm still having trouble being consistent on my good diet. Not that I'm eating crap, but I'm not eating enough. And that's because of this medication that I take that it kills my appetite, but that's a different story. And diet is so important when it comes to feeding your body to be able to recover and build back those micro tears that you had from the gym, that you gave in the gym. And it comes down to 2 parts, your macronutrients and your micronutrients. So just to put it in kind of beginner's language, your macronutrients refers to your protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So I'm pretty sure that everyone is familiar with proteins, carbs, and fats. And I want something to make very clear is that all 3 of these macros are extremely important for you. People cut out carbs because they say carbs are bad. Like, I'm just like, what? Okay, for some cases when people are like, they're going through some medical issue, yes, cutting carbs would be better because of the insulin problems that it gives you. But if you're a normal person, carbs are extremely important and you shouldn't cut them out from your diet. And especially for hard gainers, carbs are one of the best ways to add in calories. And same thing with fats. Fats are just seen as so bad by society. Like, that's why you go out and it's like, no fat this, no fat yogurt, no fat that. It's like, fats are good. It depends. If you're taking in saturated fats and trans fats, no. But good fats are very crucial. Good fats are one of the main ways your body is taking in energy. And like an example for good fats is avocados, olive oil, avocado oil, I don't know, almonds, cashews, those types of things. They're very important. So I want you to have this in your mind to never cut these out because you think they're bad. If you overdo something, anything can be bad. I want you to know that everything at a moderation, everything at a normal stage of it is normal and necessary. And that's why you shouldn't be cutting out things just because you heard that it's bad. Everything in moderation is necessary. Have that in mind. Now, when it comes to your diet, when you're trying to build muscle or trying to just reach a goal when it comes into fitness, you can't just stuff your mouth with whatever you think is healthy and expect to, see results. It doesn't work like that exactly. Yes, you can get away with it in your newbie phase, but listen to that. I said get away with it, which means it's not the best way to go with it. But even then, your body is burning a certain amount of calories on a daily, and you need to feed it a certain amount of calories on a daily. And based on your goals, your protein, carb, fat ratio should be different. And one of the ways you calculate that is like, okay, first of all, have this in mind. When you're calculating, let's say, for example, I burn close to 2,700 calories a day. That's at maintenance. And if I want to bulk, then I'll take in 3,000 calories. Now, if I need to take in 3,000 calories, and I know that those calories are split up into protein, carbs, and fats, how would I calculate that? When you have your ratio down, so you want to get, and this is big in the fitness industry where they're like, okay, per pound of body weight, you want to get 1.5 grams of protein. For, your diet, you want 35% carbs, 25% fat. Like the general kind of thought process that's going into all of these fitness things that you see in beginner videos. Whenever you're trying to calculate them, have something in mind is that a gram of carbohydrates, a gram of protein is equal to 4 calories. A gram of carb and a gram of protein are 4 calories. So when you have a gram of carbohydrates, that is equal to 4 calories. When you have a gram of protein, that there is 4 calories. But then on the other hand, fats are 9 calories per gram, which is why when you see in people's diets, like if you were to go look at a fitness video and they said that, okay, you know what, my protein intake is 200 grams, my carb is 300, but my fats are 70, something like that. Example. And you see the fats are so much lower in numbers because they're a lot more dense, calorie dense. You can see right here, carbs and proteins are 4 calories per gram, fats are 9. So have that in mind. So whenever you're doing a calculation, have that in mind. So if you're trying to fill up 3,000 calories and in your mind, you know that you want 20% of that to be fats, then you take 20% from 3,000 calories, you have X amount of calories that you need to achieve, and now you divide that by 9, and you get the amount of grams of fats that you need to hit on a daily. So have that in mind. Next that I mentioned was micronutrients. Micronutrients are very important. I don't want to mix that up. But as much as macronutrients are important at the start, as much as you should be focusing on macronutrients in your beginner newbie phase, micronutrients come in a little bit more after. They're very important, don't get me wrong, but as much as macros are important for your beginner phase, micros come in a little bit later. Micronutrients refers to vitamins and minerals. So minerals, vitamins, they have a big effect on how your performance goes, how certain aspects of your body are optimized, performing, all of that. So you see people, they're like, okay, what supplements do you take? Do you take zinc? Do you take magnesium? Why? Because they help to boost your test levels. And by test, I mean testosterone, which has a big impact on muscle gain and fat loss. But that comes in a little bit later. So don't focus so much on that. Just focus on you want to be on good, healthy levels. So have like a multivitamin that has everything in it. Have a multi-mineral, or for multi-minerals, like I don't find them to be too good multi-minerals compared to multivitamins. That's why instead of getting a multi-mineral that's so low in dose and everything, like if it has zinc and has just one microgram, I would rather get the zinc separately in like a separate capsule or a tablet or whatever. Or even better than that is being able to get all of these micronutrients from your food, which is why supplements come in secondary, not primary. And one of the places that you can get your micronutrients in food, and it's a very rich in food, is sea moss. Natural sea moss is one of the most micronutrient dense foods you could ever find. Like out of, I think it's around, off the top of my head, out of 110 minerals, sea moss has like 90 something. I might be wrong on the exact numbers, but I know it's extremely dense nutrients. So your primary focus should be to get all of these from foods, and then if you want to optimize it even further, then add in supplements like zinc, magnesium, omega-3, ashwagandha, XYZ. Next comes in is that, okay, but how do I know how I'm going to be calculating my calories? And first you got to see and get into this thought process. Okay, what are your goals? What do you want to get out of the gym? Do you want to gain muscle as efficient as possible? Do you want to cut fat as much as possible? So you have to have that in mind. And that goes into two categories, bulking and cutting, which you've probably already heard. It's very common terms. And you look at it and be like, okay, if someone is very skinny, and I'm talking skinny, so they're low on fat, low on muscle, bulking would be very beneficial. You want to gain as much size, as much lean mass as possible in the shortest amount of time. If you are obese, if you're on the fatter side, if you are, and I'm not trying to fat shame anyone, it's like if you're above 15-ish% body fat, if you're above 20% body fat, let's say this, 15, 20-ish% body fat, cutting would be a bit more realistic for you. And even then, quite frankly, I would say if you're above 20, 25% body fat, and I'm talking about men, by the way, women, you add another 10. So for us men, if our kind of range, our normal range is between 10 to 20, women are 20 to 30. So have that in mind. Whatever I'm saying, if you're a female listener and you're trying to calculate this, if I'm saying 20 for a male is bad, then you would say, okay, the exact opposite, like 30 for you is on the edge as a female, for example. So as a guy, if 20 to 25% body fat, I would say focus on getting as lean as possible, as much as you can. Now it comes to the stage where you're like, okay, you might be somewhere in the middle where you have a decent amount of fat. You're not obese. You're not fat, actually. and you don't have that much muscle. So you're at this stage where you need to both gain muscle a lot because you don't have much of it, and you need to lose fat as well. And you may look normal from afar, like you may just look like the skinny or normal sized guy that's just a little bit softer, chubby-ish, but it's still like you don't have a belly. That's what we call skinny fat. And it sounds stupid, but it's a real term, and it makes a lot of sense. Skinny fat is when an individual that is skinny fat, he would look kind of normal, like he's just a teenager, a slim teenager, but he wouldn't have that much kind of definition in his muscles. He wouldn't have that much muscle. And it's because at that stage, when you're skinny fat, you have so low amount of muscle and such high amount of fat where it kind of just cancels each other out. Where you're at the stage where, okay, let's imagine your entire body as a liter of water, a liter jar. You can fill 70% of that with fat and 30% with muscle, but at the end of the day, you'd still be a liter and you look the same unless you take a deep look inside the jar and see what's in it, what's composed of it. And that's the problem, is that people that are skinny fat, they don't know that. It doesn't make sense to them. They take an in-body test and they see that I barely have any muscle, but I'm 18% body fat, but I don't look fat. That's weird. And at that stage, you need to both do a combination of a cut and a bulk. And that's what we say recomp. And you don't get this too often from people because it's not something that is so very commonly said in between fitness gurus. A recomp, or full name is body recomposition, is being able to do both, bulk and cut. Now, before we get into how you do a body recomp, we need to see, okay, but how do you do a bulk in the first place? When you have your maintenance calories, and we'll get into the entire how to calculate it, but when you have your maintenance calories, so the amount of calories that you burn on a daily, that your body, so calories are a form of energy. The amount of energy that your body would burn on a daily in the form of calories, when you have that amount, so let's say it's 2,500, if you want to bulk because you're super skinny, like you're also low on fat, but you're low on muscle too, you want to prioritize building as much muscle as efficiently as possible. So what would you do? You have 2.5K maintenance calories, you'd add some to that on top of that. So you're eating more than you're burning. But you want to make sure that you're eating more, yes, but you want to make sure that you're not eating so much in a surplus where that extra amount that you're taking in for no reason is going to turn back into fat. Because that's the issue in bulking, is that you bulk, but then as much as you're gaining a good amount of muscle and you're gaining it more than you would in any other stage, you're also gaining fat at the same time. And depending on how you arrange your bulk, you could gain less fat during your bulk, you could gain more fat. So some people, they only need a 200 calorie surplus. And by a surplus, I mean like, okay, if your maintenance is 2.5K, you add 200 to it. So now you're intaking it at 2.7K. But some people here, they decide, you know what, I'm on a bulk. I want to gain as much muscle and size as possible. I'm going to do a dirty bulk. So close your eyes, whatever's in front of you, you just eat, 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 eat. That's terrible because you have no clue right now how much you're intaking, what you're intaking, ratio-wise. Like you have no idea if you're intaking enough protein, enough carbs, enough fats, if you're intaking enough calories. If you're intaking too much calories, one day you might say, you know what, I'm going to go to McDonald's and that's going to be my lunch. And you take a Big Mac, double Big Mac combo or whatever, poutine, drink, and that meal itself comes out to be, for example, I'm not sure, but like close to 2,000 calories. And guess what? That's like, that's almost your entire daily calorie count fulfilled. And you go home and you don't feel like you ate that much because it's just a sandwich and a combo. And you're telling yourself, you know what, because I'm on a bulk, I gotta eat. And you're expecting that if that sandwich from McDonald's was so high in calorie that you'd still feel very full, but you aren't feeling that full because it's crap calories. A calorie doesn't equal a calorie. Those are crap calories, low quality calories. And you don't feel satiated when you take in those calories. You don't feel that full. They don't keep you full. It's not high quality calories. And you come home and you're like, okay, I gotta fill myself more. And you fill yourself more. And that day, guess what? You hit close to 4,000 calories, for example. And there's another day that you're like, you know what, Marvin, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to make a meal myself. And I'm going to eat that as much as possible. Because you made your own meal. Guess what? The calorie count might be half of that. Might be 1/3 of that Big Mac combo. But you're eating it and you feel a lot more full. And you're telling yourself, okay, so that feeling of feeling full is what's telling me that I'm eating enough. And that day, guess what? You just ate 2,000 calories. Or you barely hit 2K. And you're just on a up and down streak, and your body's just confused, and you're not going to be making any progress. But instead, on those days that you're hitting close to 4, or you're hitting a huge surplus, you're going to be gaining a crazy amount of fat at the same time. And you don't want that, because that creates this entire issue where now, guess what? You got to go into a cut. And this entire bulk cut thing, it's such a pain. Because now, guess what? You go on a cut and you got to do the exact opposite as a bulk. You have 2.5K maintenance. You got to now take in less than 2.5. So you're forcing your body to get the extra energy that you're not giving it in forms of calories to take it out of your fat stores. And in a lot of cases, you lose muscle in the process because your body's going to have to break down your muscle for energy. And it sucks. So if you can do both of these in a very more slight fixation, you'd be in a very, very, very more happy position with your outcomes. You might come out of a bulk if you calculate your calories perfectly. You might come out of the bulk with, for example, 10 pounds of extra lean muscle and only a pound of fat added to you. And if you would have done the dirty bulk, maybe you would have gained the same amount or even sometimes less, depending on if your ratio of protein to carb to fat was garbage. You may come out of that with the same 10 pounds of muscle that you gained, or let's be nice here. Let's say you'll come out of that with 11 pounds. But guess what? Instead of a pound of fat mass, you now gained 10 pounds of fat mass. And you're not fat. And now you need to go into that cut stage. You go into that cut stage. You have to put so much more effort. Now you're cutting that fat that you put on from a dirty bulk. But guess what? You're also losing that extra little bit of muscle that you put on from the dirty bulk compared to a clean bulk. So what I'm trying to say is that going slight with everything, don't overdo everything. And now when it comes to beginners, something that I highly, highly recommend is recomp. So body recomposition is being able to both lose the fat and gain the muscle at the same time. And it sounds fantastic. And beginners have the best chances of getting this done. Because beginners, their body is now in this position where you do anything to it, it's shocked. It will grow no matter what. Even if you're not in a beginner position, even if you're in an amateur position, recomp, it's great. But when you're doing a recomp, you got to make sure, okay, either you're eating at maintenance or a little lower, but you want to make sure that your protein is upped up a lot, because that's what's going to hold back from you losing your strength, losing that muscle, and in fact, being able to gain muscle in the best case scenario. And for beginners, that's what I recommend. And if you're in your first 3-year kind of stage, body recomp is one of your best friends, and take advantage of it. Because after, if you just kind of get into that stage where your body's just now, you've pushed it so hard through all these years, and now it's not able to be shocked. It's not able to respond so perfectly to a recomp. Then you kind of just lost that golden opportunity that you could have taken advantage of. So definitely look into getting a recomp. And I will, if you guys are interested, I will make another video about recomping on a full separate level. But if you are trying to get some answers about recomping, definitely YouTube it. There's a lot of YouTube videos I know that explain about recomping, but stick away from the bro science, because that's what screws you up a lot of times. Some of the bro science makes sense because it's from experience and trial and error, but many times sticking to the science-based part of bodybuilding, it clarifies everything so much better. All that trial and error crap that you have to go through, and then you find out that doesn't work for me, it only worked for Chad, you cut that out. And on YouTube, I believe Jeff Nippard is, I might be pronouncing that wrong, but Jeff Nippard is one of the OGs when it comes to this science-based bodybuilding. So definitely go check him out. And I actually think he has a book on body recomposition, so go check that out too. So we went over the fact that if you're obese, you want to be cutting. So if you're very, very high in body fat, your first priority is to lose that fat. So you go into a cut phase, you eat less than you burn. So your body is now having to take that extra energy from your fat stores. And if you're super skinny, 0 muscle, 0 fat, not 0, but very limited, like you're just a branch, you would then go and do a bulk. But that's a problem with very skinny people and people that have very high fast metabolisms, is that we call them hard gainers. They can eat, but they won't grow. And so they have to up their calorie intake a lot. And one of the best ways, or one of the best advices for hard gainers, is to up your calories. I mean, first priority should be protein. So hitting your protein intake, 100%. So if that's a pound per lean muscle mass, or if that's a 1.5, not a pound, 1.1 gram per lean pound of muscle mass, or 1.5 grams per lean pounds of muscle mass. Jesus, my brain. Whatever you set your protein intake to, that should be your first priority. Now, secondary would come as carbs and fats. You want to make sure that you're taking the most advantage of those two macros, because you can play around with them so perfectly and get exactly and reach the exact caloric intake that you want by increasing those. Adding carbs are one of the best ways, increasing your carbs are one of the best ways to up your calories, because it's just so easy to take them in. And in some cases, like I'm talking about carbs, don't take this as if I'm talking about sugary sweets, because those are carbs too. Like those are high on the glycemic index. Those are garbage. You want to stick to low glycemic healthy carbs like whole grains, oatmeal, etc. But same thing with fats, is that you want to fill up yourself and you want to make the most of, that caloric intake that you want to get to by adding a lot of fats. But you don't want to add crap fats like saturated or trans fats. You want to add good fats. So literally the simplest thing, like every day, cut an avocado and eat it. That's like 300 and something calories. That's crazy. Or whatever you're making, add some olive oil to it. That's a lot of calories right there for nothing. Like you don't feel satiated after it. It's not that filling, which is one of the things that skinny people that want to eat so much, you don't want to eat. I don't want to sound weird here, but you don't want to eat foods that make you satiated too much, because then you get filled up way too much. And that sounds like bad advice, because satiating foods are usually higher quality foods. Foods that don't make you feel full are usually lower quality foods. But you want to find something in the middle. So literally, like, olive oil isn't bad. Adding olive oil to whatever you're cooking, that's just extra calories right there. Adding cheese to whatever you're doing, extra calories right there. Peanut butter, extra calories. So all of those stuff, like, make the most of it. And especially with fats being so calorie dense, like we went over this, fats are 9 calories per gram when proteins and carbs are 4 calories per gram. So you want to make the most of that. Okay, so next is, how do I even figure out how many calories I have to take in? And it goes down to this calculation path where you can do this online if you want. There's a lot of sites where it says total daily energy expenditure, TDEE calculator online. And it calculates how many calories you need on a daily based on a couple of questions it asks you and that you have to answer. So how old are you? How tall are you? How much you weigh? How many times a week do you exercise? So questions like that. I don't want to say that they're bad. They're good for a good beginner to give them an idea, at least where they stand, just general. But if you want the best results, there's a test called an in-body test, or generally like a deeper, more specific body test that tests not only how many calories you burn, but the amount of muscle mass that you have, the amount of fat mass that you have, where that fat is divided, where the muscle is divided, how much water you have, intracellular, extracellular. It's a great tool, and it's great for tracking your progress, because if you're starting off in the fitness industry with 18% body fat and you want to lose fat, you can tell visually that, okay, you know what, man, I went from this belly to a six-pack, but you'd be able to see a lot more deeper and a lot clearer in a very specific test, so an in-body test. And then you would see on the in-body test, when you were fat, it said 20% body fat, and now that you're at the stage you want to be, it says 7% body fat. Or if you want to make the most of it even better, taking it in between. So every month, maybe taking one test. So you can track your progress and you can see, you know what, man, like this month I had less progress than I had the other month, or vice versa. And by doing that, you can track and make the most and be the most efficient in your progress. Because sometimes you do certain things, certain months, and it has a big impact on you, and it really works on you, because this entire process, you're listening to me, you're getting all the knowledge, but a big part of it comes down to trial and error too, because all of our bodies, they work differently. You get the knowledge, you know what the general concept is, but now you got to see how your body kind of reacts to all these one little tweaks and shit. And so you want to see which one works, which one doesn't on you. And by taking in-body tests every little once in a while, in between your progress, in between your journey, you can tell and see what worked, what didn't. Maybe what I did X month really helped me, maybe it didn't. And so you can put those pieces together and then go up and then create this entire kind of plan that you have. You put this plan together, you put the puzzle pieces together, you know what works on you now, and now you're going to go straight on that journey strong. So on an in-body test, when you take it initially and you want to see how much calories you got to take in, how much calories you burn, on these tests, they don't tell you your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, but they do tell you something. Your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. So your BMR, in very short bro science way, is the amount of calories you burn if you were to be in a coma. So the amount of calories you would burn if all your body had to do was sustain life and all the organ functions and everything like that. And you'd see that your BMR, for example, is 1.5k calories. So that means out of, for example, the 2.5k calories that you burn on a daily, 1.5k calories come from just your body trying to sustain life in itself. So at that point, you take your BMR and now you gotta make a calculation. You gotta see how much do you exercise. So if you rarely exercise, if you exercise 1 to 3 times per week, 3 to 5 times per week, 6 to 7 times per week, or if you exercise twice per day, or if you have a very physical job. And once you now know how much you exercise, how active you are, you would then take a number that has to do with that group and multiply by your BMR. So for example, if I exercise 6 to 7 times a week and my BMR is 1,500, what I would have to multiply my BMR would be 1.725. So let me just do that right now. 1,500 times 1.725. That means my maintenance calories would be 2,587 calories. And what that number says is the amount of calories that you need to take in to be at maintenance. So that's the amount of calories that your body burns on a day. If you eat more than those, you gain weight. You eat less, you lose weight. Simple. And the numbers go as following. If you're very rarely active or exercising or whatever, you would multiply your BMR by 1.2. If you exercise 1 to 3 times per week, you'd multiply your BMR by 1.375. You exercise 3 to 5 times per week, you'd multiply your BMR by 1.55. If you exercise 6 to 7 times per week, you'd multiply your BMR, as I said, to 1.725. But if you exercise every day or twice a day, or if you have a super physical job, you would multiply your BMR by 1.9. So you get the broad general concept. Okay. Now that you got that down, you want to have something very, very crucial in your mind. That's where all of this that you have down, you have the fact that you're on your macros, you've calculated your macros, you're taking in your macros, you're exercising. That's great. You're very consistent with sleep. That's great. Or you've at least figured out your sleeping schedule. That's great. One thing is very important: consistency. And that is the name of the game. Consistency, staying consistent with your training, staying consistent with your diet, staying consistent with your sleep is probably, I would say, one of the most important things when you're starting out, or even when you're professional, amateur, or whatever, advanced, God tier. Consistency is the name of the game. If I work out 6 times a week this week, but then I work out twice next week, I'm not going to be growing the way I want to grow. I'm not going to be reaching the goals that I want to reach the way I want to reach it, the way I should reach it. If one day let's say I'm bulking and I have to hit 3,000 calories, if one day I'm hitting 3,000 calories, but the next day I'm hitting 2.8, and then the day after that I'm hitting 3.2, and then the day after that I'm hitting 2.2, I'm not consistent, and I won't be able to get the results that I want at the time frame that I want, in the fashion that I want it at. And staying consistent with your diet, you can use so many tools that are available to you right now, especially with bodybuilding being such a much more common thing in this generation. There's so many tools out there for you. Diet trackers, scales, etc. So diet trackers, you could go in MyFitnessPal. This is an app, and literally just punch in whatever food that you're eating. So like whatever brand cereal that you're eating, put it on a scale, see how much it is, weigh it out, and then put it in MyFitnessPal. I'm eating 60 grams of egg cereal. And it says, okay, 60 grams of this is 300 calories. I'm eating a cup of almond milk from Silk, almond and cashew milk from Silk. Okay, adds that in, another 90 calories. and it's adding all the different macros and micros and everything. So that's very important. And next episode, we're going to be going over some of the more in gym, in kind of exercise concepts, because this episode was mainly about, okay, get your foundation right on if you want to reach your fitness goals. It's not just about working out, it's about a lot more than that. So from sleep, from your macros, your micros, from consistency, from choosing your goals, from your calculations, those are very important. In the next episode, we're going to be going over the different training methods, how you can do some training methods, and I'll be sure to hopefully keep that episode a little shorter because this one is once again quite long. But on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As usual, if you've enjoyed, be sure to somehow support the channel. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, XYZ, show some support, man. If you like the content, show some support. Come follow the Instagram, generation.abedi, and send me a DM if you have any questions, any concerns. If you have any topic ideas you have, send me a DM. I'd be happy to respond to all of those. But on that note, it's been a fantastic episode. My name is Abedi, and you just listened to Generation Abedi. Take care, guys.